Did a live stream with Tyler.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Hey, everyone. All right, give me a second. Let me plug my headphones in. All right, if you guys hear a bunch of loud bangs, this is New York City, and there's a bunch of fireworks going off. So, all right, should have probably. All right, audio good. Yes, it's a Reefing with O live stream. It's my son Christian right here. That's my son Tyler in the chat. Today is his birthday. He turned 11. And I just saw a pop-up. Hangouts on Air is going away August 1st. For
And
quick
we say
streaming,
happy birthday to
going to youtube.com/webcam. All right. High five. All right. So today I figured I would stream for about an hour. I didn't really have any specific topic. I will just answer whatever questions and ramble for a little bit. So what's up, Carlos? Hey, Carlos. Hey, Big Niners. Tom Reefman. Carlos again. HB Aquarium. Exclusive Reef. Reef Keeper.
Hey, boys.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. Yeah, okay, he's 6. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Exclusive Reef. Carlos.
And my brother's 11.
Your brother's 11? All right. The tank is behind us. Lights are still on. Lights will probably go off in about, it's 8:40 Eastern, probably go off in about 20 minutes. But the tanks are doing well. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. How's everyone's tanks doing? Most of you know I had the crash, and tank's doing well, man. Went to Reefapalooza, got a ton of corals, and everything's doing well. Everything is doing good.
Yes.
Reef Keeper said, I want to see the gem tank. Come on here.
Yeah.
I want to see the gem tank. Yeah, Phil, your tank is looking awesome.
This is my brother. He's 11 years old. He's taller than me.
Yeah, Phil. For Phil,
Dad is taller than us.
Thank you. Big Niners, best way to get rid of yellow water. Yellow water. I don't.
Yellow water.
Yellow water.
Yellow
Don't
water.
know yellow water.
Yellow water reef.
Let me see what that is. Yellow water reef tank. Hang on a second. Let me see.
This is my brother.
Oh, so is that when you have like a lot of the? It has a yellow tint. Oh, probably carbon. Carbon is, yeah, activated carbon.
Can you send a link?
You gonna jump in?
Huh?
All right. 1 second. Let me. All right. My son wants to jump into the Hangout, so I am going to repost the link.
He's coming in, right? He's gonna come in.
All right, there it is, Tyler. Put it in the chat. Yeah, just to finish up that question, like activated carbon. If it has a yellow tint, carbon should clear that up. Yep, water change and carbon. Gem Tang. Yeah, I got a Gem Tang from Petco. I went into Petco. They had it on sale. I got one. Haven't put him in a video yet. I think I put him on Instagram, but yeah, got a Gem Tang. Love him so far. I don't know why the video is coming out fuzzy. on.
Also, we have shows and
I don't know why it's coming out
Also-
fuzzy on YouTube.
also we have shows and games and Nintendos.
Oh, all right. Shows and games and Nintendos. All right, there you go. We got everything. I don't know. Is it coming out fuzzy on YouTube for you guys? Because it looks fuzzy to me, but Hangouts looks good. Reef Keeper. I lost my yellow chorus wrasse. Been trying to replace him. Been through 4 already. In my previous tank, I don't know if it's because
He's not in.
he's not in. He said it's not working. All right, tell him to give me a second.
Give him this. Give him this.
Yeah, in my previous tank, I couldn't get any chorus wrasse to stay alive. But this tank, I put 2 chorus wrasses, 2 of the first fish in. So right now I have 2. So far they're doing well.
Also, we're doing good right. Well, what?
All right, Tyler, can you mute?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Can you mute?
I'm gonna use my computer
All right, Tyler.
to look at the chat.
What's up, darling?
All right, give me a second. 1 sec.
Yeah, it's working. It's working.
All right, folks, I'm back. All right.
No, go to Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler's there. He's gonna come in soon. Tyler's gonna come in soon. It got 2 from saltwaterfish.com. Yeah, I used to buy a lot of stuff from saltwaterfish.com and I don't anymore.
Okay, he's coming back. Okay.
The stuff the stuff usually the stuff usually doesn't come in good. Yeah, I don't buy stuff from Saltwater Fish anymore, Phil. I don't. I usually stick with Live Aquaria. Also, saltwaterfish.com puts you through like a really onerous process to get warranty, while I think Live Aquaria is a little bit easier.
He's good there.
Okay.
He's
All right.
gonna come back.
All right.
What? Everything's
Yep.
good.
Can you guys still hear me?
You guys hear me? Yes.
All right.
Do you guys hear me? Yeah.
Biorb Sensei. What's up, Biorb Sensei?
It's Tyler.
Biorb Sensei. What's up, man?
And tomorrow.
All right, exclusive. What's your experience with the calcium reactor? I am still dosing and a bit nervous to swap over. So exclusive as of.
And tomorrow we're going
All right,
to the
hold on 1
movie.
second. Man, exclusive. I had an accident with my calcium reactor. Basically, my CO2 regulator failed. I was using a Milwaukee CO2 regulator. One of the gauges wasn't working. Something was off. Anyway,
Go to Tyler. He's back.
yeah, he's still here. I see him. He's right there. Something happened and it released a bunch of CO2 and basically cracked my tank. Let me pull up a picture and show you guys a photo. So basically, right now I'm back to dosing like the Alpha Reef because my calcium reactor is not basically broke.
Guys.
So let me show you.
Also,
let me show you. Hang on. Let me go get a piece of the calcium reactor and show you guys. 1 second. I can't find it. I'm not sure where I put it, but yeah, basically, I'm not running the calcium reactor now. My regulator failed. Cracked it, so it was a dual stage regulator. But I got a carbon doser now. So once I get the Vertex repaired, I am definitely going with a I ditched the Milwaukee. Not using it anymore. Next time I'll go with a carbon doser. Well, I already have a carbon doser, so that's what I'm going to use going forward. It was a dual stage, but one of the gauges wasn't working, and they said, I called the company. They said, don't worry about it. And yeah, something happened. What's up, Biorb?
What up, dude? What's going on with
Man,
you?
what's up, man?
Nothing, man. Just getting back in, man. I just came from the lakefront area down here in New Orleans. Just enjoying a little bit of the lake life, I guess.
Lake,
Some of that fresh water.
Lakefront,
call
New
it,
Orleans.
we call it the lakefront. Well, actually, everybody down there calls it the lake, but it's basically just like a lakefront area for everybody to kind of hang out. You can go fishing and stuff like that.
Is that on Pontchartrain?
No, that is actually in like the Metairie, New Orleans area.
You know what I'm talking? I just did a Google search, so that's why I'm asking. It's not like I know New Orleans at all.
Yeah, it's more like it's in the it goes from like two different sides. Like it goes from the New Orleans basically it's just New Orleans East. Put it like that. It's New Orleans East.
New Orleans East.
Yeah.
All right.
So, what's the topic today, man? What's going on?
I don't have any really topic. I promised my son that I would live stream, so I thought, hey, let's give it a try.
Say what's up.
Hey, so he's listening.
Okay, what's up, little dude?
Yeah. Reef Keeper's tank is awesome, man. I don't know if you ever had a chance to check out his tank on YouTube.
I think I've seen one of his videos. I don't know which channel because I'm back and forth between my channels right now, between E46 God and this channel. So sometimes I don't even know which one of the who I'm actually following from both channels. It gets kind of confusing. That's why I'm about to stop doing everything from the E46 God channel completely. Because like I said, that's a car-based channel anyway, so it has nothing at all to do with reef keeping and stuff.
Reef keeping. I saw your latest video where I think you lost a damsel.
Yeah.
What happened with it?
So, okay, so I had this Aquascaping 10 hang on a back filter, right? And I actually had it because it came with some sort of kit that my brother had. He went out and he thought that he could try saltwater for himself, so he went to Petco. He bought an Aquascaping 10-gallon kit. And it came with the pump and everything else, filtration, everything with it. So he tried it out. Now he's way too stuck on women to to keep up with the maintenance on it. So he wound up not taking care of it, and then all of the maintenance actually wound up falling on me. Can you guys still hear me? Is it?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Oh, just making sure.
Yeah.
So all of the maintenance wound up falling on me. So I wound up taking over the tank anyway. So that's kind of how that story went. But so to the next story. So then he wanted to try it again. So we went to PetSmart this time, and there was some top fin tanks for sale. And I was like, why not try it again? We'll go a little bit smaller so it can be a little bit easier for you to take care of. Once again, he did not take the interest that I thought he would, or that he thought he would himself. And I wound up taking over that tank. So now that tank is actually located in the living room, which is that little 5-gallon tank that you saw the damsel and that Bengal cardinal fish in.
That's not the Biorb.
No, not the Biorb. That's not the Biorb. It's completely separate. Everything in the Biorb, nothing has ever perished in the Biorb besides a ball of Chaeto and a fire shrimp, which was due to high as hell calcium, man. And that's when I had a dosing pump on there, and it was a mess, man. I just got the calcium back down to around probably like 500 now. It should be at 500 exactly now. Last time I actually checked, it was at like 510, so it should be probably like 500 exactly right now. And everything's good in the bio. Everything's great. I'm gonna be probably showing that if you guys don't mind, you want to see the bio or whatever. I'll probably be showing that in a few.
Yeah, give me a second. Thank you, DFW Reefer, for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Cool.
Uh,
So back to the top fin, right?
Yep.
So the damselfish, right? The damselfish was, only supposed to be like a starter fish or whatever for that tank anyway. But I actually, when I put them in there, I wound up liking them. I love the color of the damsels. They look beautiful. You can't get that blue coloration out of too many fish the way that you can get out of a damsel, and it's the closest thing to a blue hippo tang that you can get out of a smaller fish that can go in almost any size tank. So I wound up liking him. He was a good fish and everything. So the problem came in with this actual pump. This pump was not intended for this tank at all. It was actually the only thing that I had that was the least powerful enough to actually create a little bit of flow inside of this tank. So I was like, okay, I kind of have no choice but to put this in here just to create a little bit of flow in there, because I didn't want it to be just like little to no oxygen in that form. I wanted the tank to have a little bit of aeration, and it was creating a lot of that. But I guess sometime at nighttime, he may have not been looking where he was going or something like that, and he wound up getting sucked into the intake portion of that little pump. Because I took, like I said, I actually took this pump from a hang on the back filter. It's made to where you can clip it off, and that's only for maintenance purposes, basically, so you can clean it. But I took it and used it inside of this tank. So to make a long story short, I will be I'm trying to see what I can put in here that's small enough to create flow, but
what size it is again? What size is?
It's just a 5-gallon tank, and honestly, it does not need that much flow. It's just that the return pump, it sucks. Like I don't even understand what they were thinking when they actually put this return pump in there. This return pump, like this is probably the worst part of the actual tank. Like the build quality and everything else, it's typical top fin. You don't expect much of it, but the glass is actually extremely clear. Came with a little cheap light.
It's a top fin 5-gallon, and it has a sump in the back. You said?
Yeah, basically a sump in the back. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's not anything fancy, but it definitely looks good for what it is. I got it on sale for about $40. Regular price they're like $64. That's way too expensive for the brand itself. I don't know why they ever marketed it for that price. It should have actually started off at about $40, knowing the type of products that Top Fin actually makes. So
I think I'm seeing that tank now. Yeah.
It's called the Top Fin Retreat, I think.
Top Fin Retreat. Oh, that's not.
They have different ones. They have Top Fin Retreat. They have a Top Fin Engage. They have a few different top fins. Now, of course, it's not like it's designed to house freshwater fish and invertebrates and stuff like that. Anyway, I mean, it was converted over. So
I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's the one I was looking at. Oh, okay. All right. So you just want something to create a little extra flow in it.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, so far as in filtration, there's already some seeded biological media that's in. I had them some marine pure gems that I took from my bioorb, and I threw that up in there. So I mean, bacteria and everything is good in there. The water's always crystal clear. Everything else just needed something to make a little bit of flow, because that's the only thing that's kind of keeping me from putting the type of core that I want to put in there, because I did want to put a few pieces of SPS in here, and I'm planning on upgrading the light to HD prime. So,
all right, okay, all right, yeah, all right. If you're gonna put SPS in there, you're gonna need more flow. Yeah, they got some tiny J-bows. I don't know what your budget is, but they got some tiny J-bows that.
Honestly, it was supposed to be a simple build, but when it comes down to budget, I don't mind spending, whatever you have to spend on equipment. See, I'm sort of like you. Like I watched a few of your videos, and I hear you say all the time, I'm a tech junkie. I'm the same way. Like I will literally overboard the shit out of a Pico or a Nano. Excuse my French. The crap out of a Pico or a Nano, just for technological purposes, just to for aesthetics and everything else, and just to see the functionality of a little bitty tank with all of this stuff on there. That's kind of my thought behind it. So if you have any suggestions with that, I definitely I'm all ears with that.
I've never had a 5-gallon tank before. I've had 10, but I am planning on putting a little desk. Like this is my work area. I'm planning on putting a little 5-gallon tank here, so maybe we can do that whole build together. But
yeah, that might be cool.
The power heads that I've used in these little tanks are, my son has a 12-gallon circular tank. I'm using like a Tunzi 6045, the controllable one on it. I've used something called a Jabo SW2, which is like a really tiny power head. I think it's like $40, but you could turn it down and it gives good flow. I've used a MP10, but that might be really overkill for that tank.
I've seen the MP10s in person. I never actually had one, but I do see like the amount of flow even turned down to its last notch, and it'll be too much. I actually have a Tunzi 6040 in my bio. So that, like, I actually have two of them right now, which was what I tried out first. I actually tried to put the 6040 on there, and even I'm talking about turned down to like the lowest notch, it was blowing the water out of the tank. It was too much.
Yeah, I have a 6040. Yeah, my son has in his room, he has a Innovative Marine, something called a Atoll, Innovative Marine Atoll tank. Concept Atoll, and it's a 12-gallon circular acrylic tank, and I'm about to take it down because it's an acrylic and it's so hard to clean. Because to like clean the acrylic, it's so easy to get scratched, and once coralline algae grows on it, it's hard to clean it. You have to get in there with a Mr. Clean magic eraser, and coralline algae, you have to scratch it with a credit card, and then it just gets to be too much. So I was thinking today of like maybe putting like a 25 lagoon. Yeah, that would be awesome. Like a 25 lagoon.
Yeah, man. DC, he hates me for the acrylic, because you know the biorb is all acrylic.
Oh,
I actually so there were a few scratches that on the inside of the tank. I actually got the outside of it, but I did it a minute ago, and I didn't do it at like perfect or anything like that. So now that I feel like I can do a better job of it, I will be dropping a video on that soon too, because that's gonna be a long process. I'll have to take like maybe a Walmart bag or something like that and kind of tape it to the sides of the tank, lower the water completely down, and then kind of
buff out the scratches.
From the inside like that.
See, my son that was here, the big one, he wants to take so he's responsible for feeding the tanks, and he wants to take a more active role in taking care of the tanks, and he unfortunately can't clean that tank. So I need to, with a lagoon, a typical algae scraper or something, he'll be able to more take care of it. So that's one of the reasons. It's a way for me to offload one of the responsibilities of one of the tanks on him.
Yeah, it does not take much to scratch the acrylic, especially in a smaller tank. To me, I feel like, well, the way the biorb is set up, like it has a lot of curvature to it, so you'll have to find something that can get in those crevices that, like the biorb has. Like you said, I use a magic eraser. I don't really use anything else. Ever since I've learned how to actually clean the inside of the glass, which ever since I started running my refugium, I haven't had to clean this glass in a minute, man. Like, I'll say I probably clean the glass like once a week, when, it was almost every single day before I actually added a refugium. I feel like the refugium and the chaeto growing in there, it cuts down a lot. I don't think I ever showed you my refugium, man.
No. I'd love to see it. For me, it's not the everyday algae, but you know what, man, I think you just gave me an idea. I think I'm going to set up a chaeto reactor. I've set up many chaeto reactors. I've tried many of them before, and I know they work, but maybe it's time for me to give another one a try on the nano tank to see if that can take care of the algae. Maybe clean the glass less.
Oh yeah. I feel like it'll definitely help out. For me, it does, because I already have snails in here that don't help out with that anyway. I mean, you try to throw those in there thinking that they're gonna clean up the glass, but most of the time, my snails, they only clean like the sides of the glass and not the actual front panel for some reason. So that refugium helps a lot.
All right. I definitely want to see that, but let me say hey to some people. Someone is saying, hey, Phil, just recovering, watching your last video. What's up, producer Reef? Hey, Phil, I don't know if you're going to Reefapalooza, California, but it is.
That's like $2.
Yeah, $2. It is extremely looking likely that I am going to be heading out to Reefapalooza, California. So I don't know if you're going to be there, but we should definitely set up some time to meet and talk.
What just happened?
Hey, Lynn Reef Nerd. Happy 4th, Chi-Town Reefer.
It's not his birthday.
California.
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 Yeah,
When is it? Is it next year? Or is
it is this year.
Oh, it's this year. Is that the end of this year?
It is August 17th and 18th, I think.
August.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to, like, don't get me wrong, I would love to go. I'm gonna have to see about that one.
17 or
I actually never been to California before.
Me-
That's beautiful.
Me either. And I think at first it was gonna be me. I think it's probably gonna end up being, Disneyland is right there, so it might end up being like a little family vacation. So
Yeah.
I think it should be all right.
Yeah,
I'm presenting you to every.
I definitely want to. Yeah, if I do go, I want to set it up to where it's not just me having fun. I want to do something with the family because I'm not gonna lie, I do a lot of I do a lot of reef stuff, and it annoys my fiance. She's not with it all the time. She's like, "Now we got to do some family." It's sort of like how DC had to take a break from the reefing world and do some family stuff because it's like you don't want your girl hollering at you.
So this is everyone's coming, and then she's like, yeah, I don't want to spend all day at Reefapalooza, so they'll just do Disneyland and stuff for the kids. Someone is asking, are you going to Rap Chicago? Absolutely. I think that's a no for me. That is not happening. So Biorb, I'm presenting you. Everyone's listening to you. The people are paying attention. So tell them about the Biorb and then tell us about the refugium. That looks like some powerful lights going on there, man.
It kind of looks like it from right here. Now I have this gel filter on, which I want to get rid of like immediately. I want to get a better one where it's not showing all orange and stuff like that. So it's not showing true colors of these corals. But kind of bear with me here. So right here, I guess I'll explain some of the aquascape. Right here, this is what I call my blasto and acan tree. So blastos are sort of kind of going along this left side. Will be going along the left side, and then I have acans going up here. Now, the one thing I always struggle with when I first got coral was, flow and light and stuff like that. So one of my biggest mistakes was this acan right here. I don't know if you're able to tell, but this acan was like a neon lime green color, and now it's just sort of browning out.
Nice.
And it has browned out for like months. Like I've never been able to get all of the coloration back, back to where it actually was, but I'm getting there slowly. So if anybody in the comments has any type of suggestions for that, like making corals gain their color back, I don't know if it lost some of the zoology, but this is the only coral I feel like I've done just a horrible job with.
Is that if it accepts food, you can try just feeding it.
I feed heavy. I feed heavier now because. See, the biggest thing is, like, with the refugium, now that I added a refugium and I actually have a protein skimmer on here, my nitrates and phosphates always sit at 0, which is, like, a big issue for me because, I went from feeding once a day with the refugium and the skimmer on there and stuff like that. Now it's pulling so many nutrients out to where I don't think they're, it's sustaining, a little bit of the phosphates that, some of the corals might actually need. So, let me get back here. Then I have some rock flowers. They sit literally in the back of this rock. So they kind of hide back here. I don't even mess with them anymore. I've tried so many times to get this striped one. Let me turn this floor off so you can see the striped one. So I got this striped one you probably can see back here on this side right there. So they literally sit, the two rock flowers literally sit right next to each other. And if I did a top-down view, you can see just how beautiful they are from a top-down view. So, but that's one. And there's also another rock right here. I'll be putting something on that little piece right there where my finger's pointing at. So, on to the middle. Most people do a zoa garden. I'm doing what's called a zoa bush. So
a zoa bush.
Yeah, zoa bush. Just something a little bit different. Like I wanted my aquascape to kind of not emulate freshwater in any way, but I wanted to have like this, I guess, real life kind of perspective on, I guess, forestry in a way, like kind of like how the trees are and stuff like that. So this is my zoa bush. Currently, I only have like literally one zoa on here and some pallies. Also got a mushroom. Wasn't supposed to be right there, but they wind up. How mushrooms are, they disattach and attach to whatever they want to. And I have another one right there. So this rock right here. this is where this is actually where I actually want the mushrooms at. So what I'm gonna do is probably get a few Recordia, uh, definitely some interstellar mushrooms, maybe a jawbreaker, stuff like that, and put it on this rock and kind of let it take over this rock. This is gonna be like a mushroom tree in a way. Then I have the Euphilia garden. It's sort of like when you look, it's like a pathway when you look at the Euphilia garden going towards the back. And then I have the Duncan right here. The Duncans are doing really good. And some more of the Duncans. And I got a torch coral that's hiding in the back. That's that was supposed to be a part of the skate to where I wanted everything like corals to actually fill my background in. So that's kind of why it's back there. Because I remember when DC came, he was like, "Man, why you got that torch hiding in the back?" And I was like, "It'll all be explained later because it's a part of the skate. It's meant to have stuff flowing like even in the background. Most people try to fill in. To me, I feel like most people try to fill in like the front area, but they worry less about the back area. Like I even want coral to grow along the back wall, which is why you see the massive GSP right there. But I actually found some BSP, some blue star polyp. So that's my next thing. If I can get my hands on some blue star polyp, I'll put it alongside of that and kind of have it growing together. And I also heard that there's yellow star polyp as well.
I
So
don't think you want to mess with the yellow star polyps.
It's
definitely invasive. The tanks that I've seen it in, the yellow star polyps and the brown star polyps, I think those I think they're not as peaceful as the green variant. Hopefully someone if I'm wrong, someone in the chat correct me, but from where I've seen the 3 or 4 people I have that have the green/brown star polyps, they're trying to get rid of them because they get invasive.
I'm glad you told me that because I don't need anything that invasive. I just wanted it to kind of look nice to take over the back wall.
Those blue star polyps that you see, like I think some people make sure. I've never heard of the blue star polyps, but make sure they're
not the invasive species that our reef builders was talking about.
Okay, it's not it's not the blue clove polyps. Okay. Okay, it's not the blue cove polyps. Okay,
yeah, those are different. I'm not putting that in this tank at all. I've seen those in action. They're beautiful, but I've seen how they take over rocks.
Really, dog?
One in this tank.
Okay.
I guess on to the filtration. There's filtration down there, and this actually used to be a canister filter. What I did was I took the top off of here. And basically, it just runs through here, and it's acting as sort of like a sump.
So wait a second. So hang on a second. So it's a protein skimmer. It used to be a canister filter, and it's not under pressure. So how do you get water to drain down into it?
Okay, hold on 1 second. So let me explain, I guess, sort of like the physics of this. Okay, so. Yeah, so this is the top of it, right?
Yep.
So I don't use the top of this anymore. All I literally did was take the top off. The water comes in, the water drains down and comes in through the top anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all we do is, like the pump itself, it's just a normal return pump.
But how do you get the water to drain with a siphon down to the canister filter?
Oh, well, I mean, it's basically gravity fed.
Oh,
if you will.
Okay.
Yeah. It's gravity, so it's gravity fed, and it comes straight down, and it splits to a T.
Oh.
So that's going to my canister sump filter, right? And I also have it going to which is powered by a Kessel H80 light. So that's how I have it going into the refugium. The refugium is nothing but just a breeder box. It's just a breeder box that I got from Petco for like $7.
Oh man.
Marine pure gems in here. Work. You will have to do a little bit of plumbing work. It's basically 1/2-inch piping that came with this. So I figured, okay, well, I might as well get some more piping. And went to Home Depot, got some more of the 1/2-inch piping, and that's kind of what's going on here. So I started using filter socks, which keeps it even more clean. And these are water box filter socks. So I have maybe 4 of these, and literally I wash them once a week. So I'll take 2 of them and wash them like that. Because I change them twice a week. Put it like that. I change them twice a week. This is a BioCube skimmer. Came from a BioCube. I got this for $7 on eBay, which is a great deal. The only thing that it didn't come with was the actual top to the cup.
Oh,
So what I did was I called Coralline up, because that's the company that makes these skimmers. I called Coralline up, and I asked them basically, could I just buy one? And they were like, hey man, I have one sitting on the desk. I'll just send you one out for free. So
all right.
that's how I got the top.
Hey AL, hey, what's up? Hey AL, man, listen, one of the next videos on your channel, I know you're doing a new build and stuff, but you got to do a detailed video on how this stuff works, because I don't think I've seen any filtration like that.
Oh man, that I want to do it in the next video, but I still have so much more. I'm not done with what I was doing with the stand. Like, I still have so much more that I have to do to the stand. And that's literally just prep work. Because everything, I'm kind of new to, I guess, painting. I've never actually painted anything before. Probably get some tips from Warren on that one too, because I know he used to paint and stuff like that. But once I get a few videos out on this, I will come back to this, because I've been meaning to. I do need to get to how the filtration and everything works. And also, there may be some people out there like, oh, it's gravity fed, so doesn't it overflow? Power actually goes out. So multiple times, the power actually turned the power off. And what I actually did was I found that it did overflow. So I dealt with this for a while until I came up with this one thing. I was like, if it's gravity fed, why not do something to break the siphon if a power outage happens? So what I did was, there's a hole. I put a hole on each side with a hole puncher. So I took a hole puncher and punched a hole inside of the hose itself.
Yeah.
So when the water gets low, when it starts draining out, the water gets low, it'll break the siphon.
But when the power comes back on, how do you accumulate? How do you encounter that? It starts to read.
When the power comes back on, basically it'll just start filling this up. It'll start filling the actual tank up. Yeah. But it wouldn't be so much water to where the water would overfill on the floor.
But the pump,
I would be able to catch that.
The pump would run dry, but you won't cause a flood.
Exactly, I won't cause a flood. All right. And then by that time, I can because of course all you have to do is just kind of suck on this pipe right here, and you'll only do that once to create the siphon going, and that's about it.
All right, man. All right. AL is saying this is Biorb Sensei, right? He's putting a link to your channel. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, Biorb Sensei.
Yeah, the next video too. I actually I like that, man. I might have to make that like a part of my logo, doing like the little what that is, like the little piece type thing. So,
what kind of back to the Biorb, the B-orb? What kind of light is that? Is that the Z light?
Yes, this is the Z light.
Okay, yes.
The UFO Z light. Yep.
That looks so cool.
So this light was, first of all, okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This light was, first of all, intended for aesthetic purposes before I thought about my corals. I'm guilty of that because I love the way that the light looked. I was like, I didn't even care at that moment what this light was about to do. It just looked good. And I like the fact that, of course, getting this name UFO, it was going to hover over my tank. And I had this vision. I was like, everybody looks at my tank and they're like, man, what is that? It's weird. It's different. So it's like the UFO light complements this tank so well. There's a lot of people, they love the stand. They're like, what kind of stand is that and stuff like that. So I went with this light more so first of all, off of aesthetic purposes. And it is hanging from the ceiling in my apartment.
All right. In New Orleans. All right.
Yep. So this is my this is the top down view from the back of the actual Biorb.
Looks much cleaner than mine. Looks much cleaner than mine, man.
Yeah, everything's sort of neat back here, but I do want to actually get to some of these wires. There are some loose wires that I definitely want to get to, like this. There are definitely some loose wires that I need to get to. But yeah, I would love to explain how everything is. There are 2 ball valves. I actually have 2 ball valves. One is on a return pump, and one is to manage the flow that's actually going inside of the refugium itself. Because I didn't want too much flow hitting that Chaeto. That ball of Chaeto is sitting up against this. It's basically like a piece of plastic, but it's more so to block the Cheeto from getting caught up inside the pump itself.
Now,
This is a Sun pump. It's like $20.
yeah, I know those. There's like you get like a 3 or 4 pack on Amazon or eBay, right? The Sun,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I got it from my local pet store. I usually support them little stuff like that, but for the most part, I will start buying most of the stuff off eBay, and because I shop on eBay most of the time anyway. I just want to show support to them on it.
All right, that's good. I agree. When I was I so support your local fish store whenever you can. I got a question for you from AL. You got a lot of shadowing with that narrow opening. You can't tell from the video, but it looks like you got pretty good coverage. So are you concerned about shadowing with the narrow opening of the biorb?
So far as on the sides, yes.
The opening is narrow, so and then you have it so high. So are you concerned with like not getting enough light into corals that are on the sides, or?
So actually, if you notice where everything is at in the tank, right? I perfectly positioned everything in this tank to. Hey, you guys still there? I just got a phone call.
We still here. We're still here.
Gotcha. Okay, so everything that's positioned in the tank is in a certain spot where I know light is going to get to. You are right. There is shadowing that comes down, and it's sort of like the light bends like this. The light will bend like that, right? So what I have thought about getting 2 Kessels, aiming them down to each side, right? I have thought that was a thought, and it may still happen. And it may look a little bit overboard, but I don't mind because this is one of my biggest projects. It says one of my smallest projects.
So you'll have a UFO and 2 Kessels.
And 2 Kessels dialed down completely.
All right.
And it'll just to support the life that's on the sides. But there isn't anything that's not getting any light in this tank. If you guys are wondering, like this torch. You may not be able to see, but the torch is getting like a good amount of light in that back area. The GSP, of course. So the rock flowers, they sit literally like to the wall of the opposite side, right? And where they sit, they're still getting like so much light where they're at. Like even though there's a little bit of it. So anything that won't get light, it'll probably be right here. But what I do like about the fact that nothing points right here, which kind of made me want to keep it this way at first, was the fact that you cannot see my pump. You cannot see that Tunzi at all.
Like I can't even see it. But no, I can't even see. I don't know why I'm so close to the screen trying to find it, but yeah.
Exactly. Like it's the shadowing is actually hiding it. The only thing is you'll see this hose coming, and that's it. That's sort of all you see in my tank is the hose. And if you look from the top, you'll see the hoses kind of bunched up together. And you can actually see the flow rate coming. This hose is coming from the refugium itself, so it's pumping water in really, really slow, and everything's getting time to actually consume those nutrients inside of the refugium. Now, the only thing that I haven't done yet was added amphipods and copepods, but that is next.
All right, man. Looking good, man. Everything looks good. I can't wait to see the new build. I see you working on it, working on the stand. I think DC almost gave away some of your stuff on his live stream the other day,
It's all good. When I told DC, I don't really, honestly, I don't mind. It's not like anybody's really watching my channel right now, so I don't mind giving that stuff away, And plus, my fiance, she's told me over and over, like I'm talking about like in my ear, why don't you make a YouTube channel? Why you're doing all of this stuff every single day, and you don't want to make a YouTube channel? And it's kind of too late because this project is completely done. Besides adding more livestock, it literally is literally done. I've done everything. Refugium light. I got my filtration. Everything is done on it. So.
I hear that too. I have so much videos that I started editing, and then for many different reasons, I just didn't finish them. But I got you. I hear it. There's been so much piece of equipment that I've used, taken off the tank, sold, gave away, traded, and never actually even did a review on it. I think my latest thing I have now is I just got this Comore Bluetooth pump, dosing pump. that I'm
And
anxious
I have
about.
one of those. That is actually the pump that I overdosed with. But
Oh,
it was nothing. It was nothing to do with the pump. It was totally my fault. Like I said, I'm still new to dosing. Period. And I think more than anything, I've been working on just doing less water changes rather than trying to worry about my calcium and alkalinity. Because looking at it, my calcium and alkalinity don't, they're usually in a good position. They're always good parameters most of the time. So I didn't really need to dose at this moment anyway. Now, when I do get the few pieces of SPS that I want in there, I am going to be dosing. And it's only going to be like maybe 3 SPS core. I was probably going to put some Aquapora, um, basically shooting this way off of this Zoa Bush rock. So it was going to be kind of like that.
let me just see what's going on in the comments. PR Fish Girl, I think they're talking about losing some acros. The Thames swing, yes. Actually, yes. So the other day, I actually went out and got the plumbing to hook up my chiller because, yeah, I did see some stuff lose color. I didn't lose anything, but I saw some stuff like lose brown out. And I think it's a temperature swing because I would go in from, this summer has been really good. And then we've had some hot days. So on some days, I was going from a 79 to an 85 in my tank. So I finally got a chiller. Yeah, I finally got a chiller, and I'm staying 2 degree swing now between 79, 78, and 80. So the tank stays in between there. Yeah. I don't like
So
using fans because my auto top, I think it makes my apartment feel a little bit muggy.
yeah,
Just me, because
probably.
my tank is in my living room. And so I prefer to use a chiller. My next project is to try and vent the chiller through the window. That's my next.
So
That's my next project.
so one of the biggest things I feel, especially with a nano tank, to me, I feel like don't run a heater. That's one of my biggest things. I took the heater off maybe 4 months after I've been running my tank. So this tank is actually about to make a year on the 29th of this month. It's actually about to make a year that it's been running salt water. Now, all of these corals that are in here now have not been in here for a year. There's literally only been one that's been in here for like 9 months, and that's my blastoise. You can see how huge it is. But the rest of these corals are fairly new. I got them at the beginning of this year because I kind of took my time before I started getting the corals that I wanted. I wanted to make sure, especially me getting into the hobby like this, making sure the what is that called? The biological process? No, the what is that when you first start off a tank?
You could say cycle nitrifying
Yeah, the
process.
cycle.
Yeah.
The cycle. Wanted to make sure the cycle was complete. That was the main thing. Before I knew anything about corals and fish and stuff like that, I wanted to make sure the cycle was actually complete. So I don't run a heater, and what I do find is, I don't know if it's because it's acrylic, but I do find that this acrylic tank holds temperature better than a glass tank, in my opinion. Now, my kids, their temperature sort of goes up and down. Like it'll depend. Like certain parts of the day, it'll get a little bit hotter. That's like right now, my tank is at 79. My tank won't go. It'll fluctuate between 79 and 78.5 in the summertime, right? But it doesn't get any hotter or colder than that. It literally just stays right there. And the Z light literally keeps the heat in the tank. That's what heats the tank. I don't, especially for this size tank, I don't believe in the heaters. I'm good on the heaters.
Well, you're in New Orleans, so you might be able to get away with that. But some of us here in the Northeast, man, in the winter, I don't think you can do without heaters on those really cold days.
But you don't think on a nano the light might be powerful enough to actually heat the tank itself?
No, I think when the house temperature is, so I know, so my apartment is warm. So let's take my apartment out of the equation. I think the New York. Let me look up New York City heating for buildings, right? New York City heating requirements, and I'll tell you. So I think most of the time the tank gets its temperature from the ambient room temperature. Maybe the light has a few degrees effects on it. So all right, it's pulling up now. So let's see. Let me pull this up. So from October through May, that's the winter, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., that's daytime, I guess. The indoor temperature must be at least 68 degrees if outside falls below 55. So they're required to keep the temperature minimum 68 degrees. So let's say they do the minimum. Your tank, you're asking to keep your tank 20. Yeah, I don't think the material alone is gonna keep it 20 degrees above ambient room temperature. And then they're only required to keep it 62 between 10 and 6. So if you don't have an apartment where you have individual control of your heat, we're talking 68 during the day and 62 at night. I don't think your material, over time, it's just going to drift to what the ambient room temperature is. So I don't know, man. I think acrylic might have something to do with it, but I think it's so cold in the Northeast, man. I think
Look, I feel you on that because I have never been up north before in my life.
Never? What's
Never.
the north? What's the most further north you've ever been?
South Carolina, and that's not north. That's what I'm saying. So I wasn't saying that like I guess for everybody. I was just saying in my opinion. I guess, and then I guess I have to be speaking from my area now.
South Carolina?
That's the closest I've been up north, and I do want to travel up north. I actually want to go to New York. I think everybody's favorite cities and stuff that they want to visit is always LA or either New York, stuff like that. Everybody wants to visit those states, but I've always wanted to go to the East and the West Coast.
All right. Yeah. I hear you. My apartment is warm, so I don't worry about heat too much in the winter. I think unless very cold days. But in the summer, on the flip side, I have to worry about I don't worry about my tank getting too cold, because even if my heater fails, I think my tank is going to stay at about 74, 75. But on the flip side, during the summer, I need a chiller, or I have to run one of those Tunzi fans to keep it at about 81, 82.
So you guys, the summers are pretty hot out there, right?
It's not the sun. I think my apartment is just warm because my apartment is in the back. It doesn't get a lot of ambient breeze flowing through. I don't know. I think my apartment is just warm, man. Just
Gotcha.
Normally just warm.
I don't know how that stuff works, but I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah. See, my tank now, I'm looking at my Apex right now. So I think I was actually doing some maintenance today. I run a little manifold to change my carbon. I changed my carbon today, and I didn't turn my chiller back on. So now my tank is at 81. So after a couple hours, 2 hours of not running my chiller, my tank drifted up to 81.
So
today's not a cold day.
Chiller for a Nano tank?
No, my son's Nano. Let me look at that now, because the tech junkie that I am, I have an Apex on it. My Tun's tank is 78, and I use a fan. I use what's called a Tunzi Aquawind fan. It's way too expensive for what it is, but I had one, and it's basically two computer fans, but they put them flat in a small form factor, so the air goes out the front. So when you put them down flat, and then the air goes out the front. So my son's Nano, it stays at about 78 degrees with a fan.
Gotcha.
But when you start using a fan to keep it cool,
like you said,
your evaporation. So my son has we have an auto top off on it, and it's a 12-gallon tank, and it has a 5-gallon auto top off reservoir. I only have to fill it once a month, but you still have to be mindful of that when
that's actually one of the things that I don't have. I don't have an auto top off. That's the only thing the only reason I don't have one is because I'm not gonna say I don't need one, but I've never seen the evaporation as bad as every 2 weeks.
Are you even doing that?
I'll literally only have to put fresh RO water in every 2 weeks, and that's it. So that's the only reason.
That's the fire.
Because of the small opening at the top. That helps out a lot too. Nice. So 78 degrees.
78.7 is what my son's Nano tank is at now. 78.7, and his fan is running. Got an auto top off. Got a Tunzi running. Yep.
All of that is from Apex Junior, right?
This is an Apex Junior, yeah. The
See,
apex for the big tank is here.
okay, so I can see a little bit more features. I see where you get more features at compared to the Apex Junior. You know what?
Yeah,
I don't mind, and you know, I think it'll be perfect just because it's a nano. It'll be perfect for the size of it. So that's another thing too. The total, if anyone was wondering, the display itself is 8 gallons. Um, with rock and coral and everything else filled up, it's probably about maybe 7.5 gallons total, maybe a little bit more. Because there's not a lot of rock in there. Like most of the rocks are like branching tree-looking rocks. So the full system will be total maybe about close to 9 gallons. And that's total. So I think I might get an Apex Junior, man. I like that. And I wouldn't mind. I think that look real nice, like in this back area, but sitting a little bit further up and kind of.
So here's my advice to you right now. Swing back over to where you have that stand for the big tank. Is that going to be the final place for the other tank?
For this tank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do not get an Apex Junior. Get an Apex, and then you could just plug everything. Like basically, you'll just get what's called another EB8 or EB4, and then you'll just use one Apex for both tanks. But that tank will have its separate like plug bar.
Okay, so I didn't know that. When I asked the guy over at my local LFS, and he told me that an Apex was just per tank. He was like, you can't run it on more than one tank. So that's what he told me, and I was like, okay. I don't know if he was trying to sell me an extra one, but he was saying that you couldn't do it. So that's the only reason I was going to get the Junior for that tank.
All right, so let me share my screen again and just show you something. So here, my tank, the junkie that I am. So right now I have 2 EB. So each plug bar comes with 8 outlets. So I have a bunch of virtual outlets here. So let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I have 16. So basically I have 2 plug bars. One is hooked up to, behind me. One is under the nano tank, right? My anemone tank. I have 2 tanks side by side. One is under the nano tank, and one is under the big tank. Now, the big tank has way too much stuff that I have to plug some stuff from the big tank into the nano tank. But because they're connected, I didn't separate what's under the. So, for instance, the Nero 5, it's what runs the nano tank. But I didn't feel the need to separate them between, you can use one Apex to control multiple tanks. There's a guy here called the Biz. I think he has 3 tanks on one Apex. You just need to run what's called a USB cable. All you need to do is put a plug bar somewhere and then run a USB cable in between the 2 plug bars. And then you could just organize this little screen here however you feel. Like if you want the left column to be Biorb and then the middle column to be the big tank, you can set it up. You just need the ability to run a cable in between them. And I think you can call up. Yours is like they're right next to each other. I actually was going to connect my Apex between 2 different rooms together. I think I measured it and it was 40 something feet. And I was going to order like a 50-foot cable from Neptune Systems and run it in between, but I decided not to do it. But yeah, you don't need, as close as those 2 tanks are, you don't need 2 Apex. You just need 1. So I would say don't. They don't sell a Junior anymore. So if you're gonna get one,
where's my charger?
no, I don't. I don't. My son was asking me something. Yeah, the Apex Junior, it's a discontinued product. So don't even, waste your money getting a discontinued product. So if you're interested, get one for the big tank, and then just run another plug bar, and. Yeah, people are saying like you can have a mini tank set up with 1 Apex. You just need EB bars for each tank, and yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
You should be good, man. Don't bother with a junior. Just get what they call an Apex EL for like $500, and you should be able to run both tanks off of that. You just get energy bars, energy bar 4s, energy bar 5s. You should be all right.
So what? That might bring me to the next thing. Then again, I might actually have room for that. So the probes itself, right? I should be able to fit these probes right here in the sump, I guess. I should be able to fit these probes like right here. There's like a lot of room.
Yeah, as long as
So it's like what is like 3 probes?
Yeah, you probably
ORP.
I don't run the ORP. I think
what is that? I do not know what that is. What is that?
I wish I could explain it to you, man. I would be lying to you, and I'd probably just do a Google search and be reading a Google search to you. I know if you're running ozone, so I was really interested in ORP when I was running ozone because it's a way to like control ozone, but I think it stands for oxygen redox potential. And outside of knowing those words, I can't tell you what it means.
So, in so many words, I'm gonna just take a wild guess. Maybe it has something to do with measuring how much oxygen is in the tank.
No.
Wow.
That would be wrong.
Wow. And that would have been my guess.
Nope. I actually don't run my ORP probe anymore. Because the ORP probe, you can actually change that port into an Apex. I'm actually I close my Apex window, but if you notice when I had my Apex window up, I had pH 1, I had pH probe up, and then I had a what's called a pH. All right, let me share my screen again. I have you see I have pH, and then calcium reactor pH.
Yeah.
So this is so I actually disconnected the ozone and connected a pH port to that same port. I disconnected the ozone probe, connected a pH probe to that port, and then there's a setting in here where you can say, what it is. You can change it from an ORP to pH. There's somewhere here you can change it. We can disable it, and somewhere in here you can do that. So I don't use it for anything. I honestly don't. I never use ORP, only when I was running ozone. And it is not a measure of how clean your tank is, and is not a measurement of how much oxygen is in your tank. If you want a measure of oxygen, there is a different module and probe for that called a dissolved oxygen probe.
Gotcha. I can definitely see why these cost so much. Shows a lot.
Yeah,
how much controllability too.
How much wattage it's using, how much amps. Yeah. I put in how much power we pay here in New York, and it tells me how much the thing costs. My wife loved this because then she could go to me and say, hey, that new thing costs 31 cents or whatever. And
it's adding to the bill.
Yeah. I could tell you that my chiller. Yep. And remember I told you I got an inside EV8 and an outside one. So the outside one, I run certain things on it. I could tell that you see my refugium and my chiller pump are both my highest, well, except my skimmer uses 6. I don't know why my skimmer uses more watts than my chiller. I've been trying to get an answer from Royal Exclusive, and I haven't been able to get one. So there you go.
Is the skimmer just not running efficiently enough or something?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a Royal Exclusive skimmer. A friend of mine from the UK, traded it to me, and but I had to buy a US pump for it, and I have to say that he's used it for years, and he's very particular about stuff, and he loves it. But I haven't had the best experience with it, and it's all because of the pump. And I think it's when I bought the American version of the pump. I don't know if I got a bad pump or what, but yeah.
So when I get the big tank, I was actually just watching Aaron's aquariums last night. I think that was last night, and they were talking about the I forgot the brand name, but it's like a dual kind of protein skimmer. and Reef Builders, he actually just I think did a review on it as well. He's about to do another review on it.
Which protein skimmer?
It's something new that just came on. I don't know the name of it.
It's the Max Spec one.
Jake from Reef Builders
The Max
has
Spec one.
Yeah.
Okay. So if Jake from Reef Builders says it, then yeah. But Aaron's Aquariums, he works for the company, so it's not a. I don't know what he's. I didn't watch that video, but if Jake from Reef Builders, not saying bias, but if you work for the company, then your review is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, but
it
if
might not be a review, it might just be you selling it. So
I'm not gonna say that, but what I'm saying is
no. I'm not saying it like that. It is what it is. It's not I'm not saying that to throw shots at anyone, but I feel like that as well. That's like, let's say if my channel was to, I guess, grow a little bit, and somebody decided to sponsor me. I don't feel like I'm not gonna say I wouldn't give a true review on it, but it's like, how can you review it as well as you want to when it was given to you? It's like you would be slapping that company in the face if you said what you probably really wanted to say about it. If it was bad, only if it was bad, or really just telling people the cons of it, because in a way it'll just kind of show that y'all need to go back and redo this before I,
But if Jake Adams like it, then I think I'll trust Jake Adams' review. I'm gonna have to go and see what's the name said about it. I haven't yet. I'll have to go back and see. Someone is saying,
well, I mean, it wasn't. I don't want to say he was trying to sell it. I would mainly say that he just explained the features of it, and that's why I was talking about it, because he showed, he basically showed how much it skims. That was one of the main things I was looking at. How much does it actually skim? I'm looking at the performance of it. I mean, yeah, you do hear about the power because it's like a two dual kind of thing. So it does sound powerful, but does it actually work? And I watch Aaron's Aquariums, and usually like some of the stuff that he does as well, it's pretty good too. Like I think he's like one of the few people I've actually seen run when he did the super simple reef tank. One of the few people who show you how to set up a reef tank with just a canister filter. So because you don't see people like using canister filters.
I think she said Aaron and Mad Hatters reviewed it. You know what? I watched Mad Hatter's video, and I think if Aaron spoke about it, then I'll go watch that video, because Mad Hatters, I watched this video and I still have some questions about it. So I am gonna go watch that. I'm not in the market for a new skimmer, and I don't think I would choose Max Spec. I think Vertex is my go-to. That's the happiest I've been with skimmers, is Vertex.
What's the Vertex brand? Is that the
Vertex? The brand is Vertex.
Oh, the brand is Vertex.
The brand is Vertex, and the skimmer line I think is Omega.
Gotcha. So the two skimmers that I was looking at was, of course, the one I just said, and the Tunzi, because I love Tunzi's products. So far as what I've seen, I actually use their magnet scrapers as well. Now I don't use the magnet scraper in this tank anymore. It scratches my acrylic up. Tunzi? It doesn't matter. I don't feel like it does. It doesn't matter what type of scraper you have. It will scrape acrylic up. It will.
Tunzi products are good.
It wasn't. They're great, but it's. I got the Pico one. The glass. I mean, the acrylic itself is actually too thick for that magnet itself. It wasn't strong enough. But for some reason, it's like perfect on that little 5-gallon over here, and it's like super strong. It works really well. But that acrylic is like I don't know if you can tell. I'll probably have to go back over there and show you. But you can see, like, I can move this thing really, really fluently. But if I put it in the bio, like, it won't even move.
Yeah, I have that. You know what? I have that one. I used it. I used that one on the little anemone tank. That's the exact one I use. Yeah, I love Tunzi products, and the thing, I think most of Tunzi's pumps and stuff, when the standard warranty is like 1 year, you get two. You get 2-year warranty on most of their pumps and stuff. So I do love it. Let me take some comments. Let me respond to some comments. Someone says Bubble King skimmers are the best. You run in the RD3 pump. Listen, from everything people have told me, including my friend who gave me the skimmer, Bubble King, and you get like a different level of service, I think, in the UK, because he has like Royal exclusive, like their auto top off. He has their pumps. I have some Royal exclusive pumps and stuff. I have a Red Dragon pump, actually, just a return pump that I'm gonna use. I'll figure out what to use it for. But I don't know, this skimmer, man. I think it's I don't know if I have a defective pump, and I should probably just bite the bullet and just take it off and send it in. But I've heard good stuff about Royal exclusive. It's just I'm just having trouble with the pump I bought. And McCallum's Reef is saying, could it be the skimmer runs 100% all the time and the chiller cools and maintains? You know what? I think you might have it. He's saying one of the reasons why maybe the skimmer looks like it draws more power than the chiller is because maybe the chiller isn't active. But I think right now the chiller is active.
That makes sense. It's sort of like how a heater only comes on to heat and then it turns off. So that makes more sense, you know.
All right. He's saying I run the Bubble King Supermarine 250. I've heard good things about it. OG is saying hi from OG and Hilda. Hey, what's up, OG? Mad Dog's been running for 3 years now, and I can't. Yeah, we have a guy.
What's up, Mad Dog, man?
No, he's not here, but Mad Dog.
Oh, he's not.
Someone said he was running a Trident, not a Trident, a canister for 3 years. Man, listen, Mad Dog is one of the most chill people you know. He has a video that's called "Don't Worry, Reef Happy." That thing is just every time I see the video, I have to laugh. Another comment from Myers. I think the Reef bot might be better than the Trident.
And that's the crazy part. I have the Reef bot saved in my tab right now on my phone because that's what I actually was gonna get for the big tank. I was gonna get the Reef bot instead of, because I know everybody's been on this Trident thing, but what I saw about the Reef bot, what I thought was so cool was the fact that you can use different test kits. I love that you can do that. Like, I may actually I saw that you can use API and the Solidifier kits. So I may actually use those kits on a Reef bot and just go at it like that, man. Like that's what you call versatility. I feel like, you know, Trident, I'm not taking anything away from it. I don't know much about it to say anything about it anyway, but I feel like the versatility of that Reef bot to say that it can use different test kits, that's technology, man. That's what you call, you know, technology right there.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Yeah. You know what? One of the things when I immediately saw the Reef bot, my immediate thought was, man, this should be marketed to the fish stores, because can you imagine? Like, I think with a lot of us buying from bulk reef supply and stuff like that now, I think the fish stores should be looking for more reasons to get actual customers in. And imagine if you could just bring your water in, man, and you make an appointment and you go in and for free, like the LFS just tests your water. Like, imagine if you have a BioCube and you have the BioOrb and you overdose. But imagine if, you had an LFS that's close by that you knew you could go in and he could give you a readout of all your parameters on a piece of paper. That would probably make you visit that LFS more.
Yeah, because it adds to the aesthetics of it. It'll make it more of a sleek visit. Like, oh yeah, look, I got this little sheet of paper. It's all fancy and stuff like that. But I can't say, this is one of my LFSs down here. There's this chick that tests my water. If, I'm out of one test kit or something like that, I'll go there and let her test the water, and she writes everything down for me on a sheet of paper or on a little sticky note. So, stuff like that does matter, because I feel like when you go into LFS, one of the main purposes, for being in there is them trying to sell you something. So it's like, if they got to sell you on something, they got to give you some reasons to come in there as well. That's what keeps them alive too.
When I was in Florida last year and I went to Worldwide Corals, I couldn't believe how cheap Worldwide Corals sells like water and salt water for. I mean, it was almost at the price where I was like, if I lived here, I wouldn't even consider, I probably would not consider having an ROD. Yeah, because just go in and I don't remember the price off the top of my head, but it was so cheap to buy salt water. Like, it actually, I did a double take. I was like, wait a second, like if I lived in Florida and close to Worldwide Corals, like why would I even Unless
Okay,
it's
so
like a big tank. Why
is it cheaper than this? I pay $5, and that's for 5 gallons.
I think it might be cheaper. I think it was 50 cents a gallon for salt water.
Wow,
Don't quote me on. Don't. I think for people who are hearing, I think.
that's
So,
the price of almost RO down there, man.
man, listen, I would be in that LFS every day, every day, every day. We got a conversation going on skimmers, and I know we all like our different skimmers. For me, I like Vertex because one of the things I do is I pull air in from outside because I live in an apartment. Families here, we release a lot of CO2. So my pH is always lower on the low side. So I run an air line from my skimmer to outside and pull in outside air. So Vertex skimmers actually pull in a ton of air. So that's one of the reasons I like Vertex is because their pumps, the pumps they use, the C-shape pumps, pull a ton of air.
Gotcha.
But I know everyone likes, like, I've seen Deltec. I've seen Royal Exclusive, Royal Exclusive Dreambox, man. Like those things are like, that's when, that's like the dream tank. That's the forever tank. You get, you get like a Royal. You got to look some of that stuff up by your man. That stuff is.
I've been looking up a few tanks, man, because so I did feel like at first I was sold on the tank that I wanted for this, and it was actually holla at your Reef boy. He went back and saw what tank I actually said I was gonna get. I didn't even realize in the video beforehand I hadn't already said it. My wife told me I said it, but I was like, I didn't say it, babe. And she was like, no, you said the dimensions and everything to the tank already. And I was like, I did.
You did?
And it was already too late. Yeah, by the time it came out. So it's 150 gallon, 24 feet wide, 24 inches tall, 60 feet long tank. And it was supposed to be all acrylic. Now, that was another thing. When DC came down, he was like, bro, you sure you want to do acrylic? And I was like, bro, I really want to do acrylic. And I love the way, the clarity is on acrylic. He's like, but the scratches. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it some more thought. So I still been thinking. I'm not going to say I'm completely sold on it like I was at first. I don't know if I'm still going to do it. Now, recently, I just saw, and I think you were in that chat too, where Eat Sleep Reef just went to Mode Aquariums. Now, I don't know how the quality is of this stuff. I never heard of that brand before. So, but one thing I did like I like how they did the overflow box. It's not physically inside the tank, and virtually sounded quiet from what I actually heard. Now, of course, I don't need a stand or anything from them because I already have a stand. But I've been thinking about a few different companies. I actually heard another one, Tristan's Reef, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Elos.
Yeah.
Elos. So I don't know, man. There's a few different brands out there, and if I was to go with glass, it's gonna have to be top quality.
Listen, man.
It gotta be top quality, man.
Elo's tank is. Greg Carroll, who joined. So Greg Carroll. So I have a Red Sea tank. Mm-hmm. And I like the clarity. I have the low iron glass. I think from what someone has explained to me, I think all these Starfire glasses are just different brands of the same thing. I don't think anyone is clearer than the other. But you know what Greg told me? He said, listen, when you have a tank full of corals and a mature tank that looks good, you never go up to the tank and say, man, that glass looks clear. Your mind is just focused on the corals.
Right.
And I've started to catch that I think it's true. Whenever I go somewhere and someone's an awesome tank, I never stop to say, oh man, that Starfire glass. No, your mind is so focused on what's in the tank that you don't really pay attention or care too much about the glass. So I'm not saying don't get the clear glass, but man, the Elos tank, man, you could probably get an entire setup for what the Elos is going to cost. This stuff is expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive, but it's sort of like what you said. It would kind of be a forever tank. I would take this tank to my house. My future home would have this same tank in it. So if I was to do it, it would be an investment long term. It wouldn't be anything like, just having it while I'm in this apartment because I don't want to. Of course, nope. I don't think anyone really loves to stay in an apartment. I don't want to stay in an apartment forever. So when I get my home, I wanted it to be something like that. Now, one of the features that he explained to me about the Elos was, I think it was like some kind of diamond display, like it's the same type of glass that's on a Rolex and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, man. Look, that sounds like some good features. Like when you think about it, it's like as clear as a Rolex could be, man. You're looking at that quality. It's that quality that people care about. And it's like, I get what you're saying. When you walk up, you're like, oh man, I'm just worried about the coral. But imagine how much more the corals pop if you see it through a much clearer display rather than you walking up. And I don't know how low iron glass is compared to acrylic, but I have seen, I guess, just your average glass, and of course it has that green tint to it, and I'm not a fan of that at all. Like when I first set up this tank, I was amazed how stuff used to look like it was just floating in thin air. Like the corals, it feels like you're more inside the tank itself. Like it feels like you just have your face in there and you're swimming with the coral. If you can see that clarity, that's my perspective on it. So I gotta say that I do look at both.
Listen.
At both.
So Calypso's Reefing is saying people will say anything to sell a product.
That is true. That is definitely true.
I don't. I don't know, man. Listen, I don't think Elos' tank is any like that much clearer than anybody else's tank, but Elos is.
Now at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just say this. Somebody.
I wouldn't just. I would love to see one in person.
Somebody just said, Billy. You said Billy Pipe's tank, right? Someone said Billy's tank. That's a regular old 75-gallon tank. Do you ever look at Billy's tank and say, "Man, that has a green tint"? You don't ever say that, right?
Definitely not.
Billy,
no.
See, and your daughter's tank. Yeah, when you were setting it up, you were like, "Man, it got that green tint." But once the thing is filled with water and you have corals growing, you don't look at it and say, "Oh man, it has this green tint." You don't. Maybe the silicone work is not as good in a cheap tank.
Oh, definitely not.
But
I don't know. I don't think it's the silicone so much, but that's definitely something I don't like. Though.
No,
of course with the acrylic, you don't see any of the silicone anyway. That's what I love about acrylic too.
Well, yeah,
it's all bonded together, so there's no silicone involved. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, somebody said Billy redefined tank husbandry. He set the bar so high, and you know what? I've seen this guy. I've seen Billy's tank in person. Like you don't look at it and say,
maybe that's what it is too. I haven't seen this tank in person either. I mean, I get what you're saying. I personally don't think the newer tanks that are coming out have the green tint like I'm talking about though. I'm talking about like older tanks mainly. Like
yeah, but these new tanks nowadays, these Red Sea and Waterbox, they're all using like the clear glass, the low iron glass. Like low iron glass is what it is. I think Starfire, you've heard Starfire, that's just a brand.
Yeah, I heard a brand.
Yeah, that's just a brand of low iron glass. But all these companies that are making, like Innovative Marine and stuff, they're all using low iron glass. It's only when you go to Petco now, you're getting like the regular old 75-gallon. If you're using like Marineland or Aquion or something, that's the only time you're getting like old style glass. But Red Sea, Waterbox, Elos, Innovative Marine, whoever else is making tanks, you're now getting low iron glass.
Gotcha.
You're now getting low iron glass. I'm not a glass expert, but you know what, man? You just gave me probably what's going to be the next topic of my next live stream.
Man, you know what it feels like? It feels like when we were talking about the Triton. I think it was me, you, and DC talking about the Triton. And also, I think wasn't that you in that topic when we were talking about the pink Himalayan salt?
No, that wasn't me.
That was Tristan. That was Tristan in there. So I don't know, we were talking about basically products and stuff like that that were just being gassed up, and it was just like everything. It was basically the same. So I get what you're saying. I guess more so what I'm talking about is quality. I have heard different things about different products, and I have heard, people talk about the clarity and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be honest, like me being new to the hobby, I feel like I'm just going off of what certain people said. Because it's not like I knew much about it anyway. Like you're telling me this now, and now I have to decipher in my head, like, okay, so I guess what the other guy said, could be conflicted with. You probably wouldn't worry about that anyway, just because you're gonna worry about the core that are actually inside the tank.
Yeah.
So I'm
Greg Carroll is like somebody who I trust. I trust his advice. But when he said that, I didn't just take his word for it. I just noticed that when I'm at someone's house and I'm looking at their tank and I think their tank is good, I never pay attention. Like when I set my tank up, I'm like, oh, the glass is clear. Or if someone calls out to you and says, man, the glass is clear, you're like, yeah, the glass is clear. But if you're just looking at a tank, you go to an LFS or you go to somewhere and just see awesome tank, or you see beautiful fish, or you see a good aquascape or something, your mind is just like, hey, like this is good. This is a nice tank. You're focused on the corals that's inside, the colors, everything. You're not focused on whether it's Starfire or not. And like I said, Billy's tank is like, I think it's I'm going to ask him, but I think it's a regular tank. And I've seen it in person a few times, and I've never, I don't think I've ever like mentioned like, hey, this is Starfire or anything. I think I'm like, hey, this is clean. And even people see it on video and say, hey, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so I gotta ask you this question, right quick. It's about maintenance. So on a Pico and Nano, right? What I noticed was, my kids, they have a 2-gallon Pico. It's the Fluval Spec 2. They had Coralline algae growing all on the back of their glass within 3.5 to 4 months. I currently, this tank has been currently running for almost a year now, and I have none. Do you think that's because I've seen some people, and it's like they'll say, yeah, I do a water change every week. And they have some people, and they're like, I do a water change every 2 weeks. But now I feel like I'm closer to getting that Coralline algae because I feel like this tank is more stable by waiting a whole month. I think it's maybe because my nutrients have been stripped out too fast because of the protein skimmer and stuff like that. Could be wrong. Just trying to get your opinion on it. What do you think I can do to get the Coralline algae? Because I know you guys say, yeah, once I get it, it's gonna be hard to scrape it off, and once you get it, you don't kind of worry about it anymore. But I still want it for some reason. I want it in this tank really, really bad.
So I'll tell you what, Coralline algae needs to be introduced. So I know you can get.
And look, but to stop you right, I have done so many different things to introduce it to this tank. I've actually taken the magnet scraper, which had Coralline algae from my kids' tank, scraped it in my tank. I've taken rocks that had Coralline algae, scraped it and put it in my tank. And I literally just went to my LFS and I got her to literally scrape some off the back wall, and I just dumped a whole bunch of it in here. I don't know how long it'll take the seed, all those spores onto anything, but I have done that a couple of times.
So I wish I could give you a definitive answer. But I've set up like maybe 6 or 7 tanks between restarting tanks and setting up tanks from new. I've set up 6 or 7 tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you have a new tank, I think you always pay attention to like Coralline algae. I think after a while, just don't worry about it, and it always happens. As long as you're maintaining parameters that your corals are healthy, calcium, magnesium, alkalinity, I think it'll eventually. It might even be growing in there now. You just don't realize it, and then one day you're going to be like, "Oh, it has Coralline algae," and you didn't even realize. It's not something I would necessarily worry about too much. Like I have a tank that's about 6 weeks old, and I don't see any Coralline algae, but I know I'm going to wake up one day and it's just going to be covered in it, and the best advice I got is just don't worry about it. It'll eventually come. I was going to say you need to scrape some off and introduce it, and it looks like you've already done that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. As long as your calcium, alkalinity, and stuff like that is on point, I wouldn't worry about it. I think you can do a lot more damage trying to get it rather than just let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that because I've done that too, buying like Purple Up and other things and trying to do things. I'm just saying, like, I think in this hobby, patience is a virtue, which is something I learned the hard way.
Oh yeah,
So,
I feel like I've learned that the hard way as well.
Yep.
With a lot of stuff.
Yep. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Billy is in the chat, and Billy says he just has a standard tank. So there you go, standard tank, and you don't ever look at it and say, "Hey, like I'm," like you don't ever look at Billy's tank and say, you just look at it, and we all say how meticulous he is with his cleaning.
Right.
And you just look at the tank, you're like, man, his water always looks clear and it looks good. And yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Is that Greg?
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Greg.
What's up, Greg?
Hey, I texted Greg because we were having a conversation about glass.
Yes.
About the clarity of glass.
Yes.
And we were someone was saying like, hey, like Elos has like the diamond glass, which is better than every other glass out there, and it's like what Rolex uses, which is like clearer.
Yes. That's interesting. First off, with glass, you if what Tristan was saying.
Wait, Greg, we're losing you a little bit. You're breaking up.
Now, is that okay?
Yeah. Say something again.
Okay.
Yep. Sound better
now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what I found, I researched it. I heard him talking about all that stuff on a previous stream, and I can assure you that if their glass was similar to what is being used on watches and used on cell phones, they couldn't afford to make an aquarium out of it. Number one. Number two, Apple would own the company by now. It's no doubt about that. They are using a clear glass. They are using a very clear glass. It is one of the top glasses as far as clarity goes. Very similar though to Starfire. And Opti White is another one. Starfire is an American company, so that's why we know Starfire glass, because American tank manufacturers are using Starfire. In China, they have another glass. It may be who knows what brand. Over in Europe, they have Opti White and this other brand of glass. And that's who they're using. They're using the other brand, and it is, slightly clearer than Starfire. Will you, as the human eye, be able to see it? No. And in all honesty, I didn't dig too deep, but the difference is so close. It could be what the thickness of glass that they're measuring to get their reading as far as clarity goes. So it may have a higher clarity because they measured it at a metric size, which is slightly thinner than an American size, where they measured the Starfire. They really are so close they could be exactly the same. That's really what it comes down to. It's all marketing. Elos makes a good tank. A lot of these American manufacturers make a good tank. It's just marketing. That's in my opinion. So take it for what it's worth. But I actually researched the glass, and that's what I found, was that they are so close it could just be a difference because by the thickness. It's no different than I don't know if it was you I was talking to when we were talking about RO membranes.
Yes, it was definitely me.
And where you find out that most of these RO membranes, the reason some are more than the others is because they just rated them at a higher pressure. It had nothing to do with them being a different membrane. So
the BRS 7, I think we looked at it, and I think we even looked up the serial numbers and model numbers. And the BRS 75 gallon per day, and some of the other ones that are marketing are selling it as 90 gallons per day. It's the exact same thing. The model number is the same, manufacturer is the same, the serial numbers are the same. One is just telling you it's 90 gallons per day, and BRS is like it's 75 gallons per day, and we're not going to rate it any higher.
Exactly.
That's the difference. That's the difference. I've been saying, like, hey, like what you told me is when you go to a nice tank and you see a nice tank, you don't ever start.
No.
Yeah, you don't ever start. And I didn't just take your word for it. I just noticed that when I started looking at tanks, it's when I left that person's house and went home, I'm like, wait a second, I didn't even ask them what glass they were using. Because you're just so focused on this looks awesome, this is a good tank, that it's just you forget about stuff.
I can't tell you how many times people would come over and see my old tank, the one where I was tank of the month on Reef Central. That tank, people used to come over and they'd be like, oh man, Starfire glass, man, it's so crystal clear. And I didn't have the heart to tell them it wasn't Starfire, that it was regular glass. And these guys, they had Starfire tanks and they thought my tank was Starfire. And I'm like, if you can't see the difference, then obviously there is no difference. The only difference is my tank looked better than theirs. that's all it was. And they were rating, they were looking at the tank and seeing how vivid everything looked. That's it. Exactly. Same thing with, I hear people, talk about Ecotech pumps, I don't want them sticking all out. The other brands, they stick out and I see them and I see the wires in my tank. And I'm like, because you don't have anything to take away from that. You don't have anything, your corals don't look good enough to make you not see those other things. And that's all it is.
Someone is asking for your YouTube channel, and I'm telling them you don't really make videos.
I don't make videos, but I'm on Instagram.
But he's on Instagram, and I'm going to get you a link to his Instagram account, which he does, and he's on Reef Central.
Right.
He's the guy whacking trolls on Reef Central.
Not anymore.
Instagram is Greg Carroll.
Greg Carroll or G Carroll. 1969.
Yep.
G. Carroll.
Hey, Billy, how you doing?
What up?
How you doing, Mr. Billy?
Hey, Billy, how's the Starfire tank going?
It's the best $120 tank I ever bought.
Exactly. Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention. You might see more of a difference when you're going over half an inch thick on your glass. You're more likely to see a difference when your tank is thicker than half inch. But under half inch, it's not absolutely necessary. But you start getting to a 3/4 inch tank, it'll make a big difference. You'll definitely then if you had two tanks side by side, you'd probably notice the difference. But under half inch, I don't see a necessity. And if it's if it's less than half an inch, I'd be hard pressed to be able to tell the difference at all.
Hey, Greg, did you feel that tremor?
No, I was at a 4th of July parade. My daughters were playing in a band, and we didn't feel a thing. People kept coming up like, "Did you feel the earthquake?" It was a 6.4. That earthquake was in the Mojave Desert, which is like where Death Valley is, and there's nothing for 100 miles either in any direction. So it's right along the San Andreas Fault area. We didn't feel it. But people, if you lived in a 2-story house, you probably felt it, or you because houses sway. But if you're on a ground floor, you wouldn't have felt it.
I was just wondering. I just threw that out there real quick. I felt one once before, and it was weird.
Yeah, but
It's just weird. And that's all it is. It's different. You realize the ground. It's got to be really close and really shallow for you to really have a scare. And I haven't felt an earthquake that scared me probably since college, and I'm 50 years old now, so they're not very often here in California, and I crack up because people are tell me that they rather hurricanes and stuff like that, and I'm like, are you because you get warning, and I'm like, yeah, but we live in earthquake land and we don't feel earthquakes but once every few decades.
Are you talking about that one, Billy, that we had a few years ago? I felt it wasn't a big one. I felt it, but we freaked out.
The one it was in Washington, I think.
Yeah, Washington D.C. We don't.
Yeah, I was leaning. I was on my knees soldering some pipe, and I was leaning over, and I was like, I thought maybe I was passing out from the heat, and I went outside to like take a break, and the lady came running outside. She's like, "We just had an earthquake," and I'm like, "That's what that was." It was. My whole body was moving. It was crazy.
I was on the fourth floor, and I felt something weird. And like my entire office building, everyone, we ran out the building. We were freaking out. We didn't know what happened. It was just, you're not used to the ground shaking.
Yeah.
I think in California, you guys would be like, oh, that's a mild earthquake. But we were so freaked out because we never felt that before.
Right,
Yep.
but if you're on the fourth floor, if you're on anything above ground level, you will feel it. And the higher you are, the more the building moves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just left to right. I mean, and it goes longer in a taller building. It takes a while for the building to stop swaying.
Oh boy.
So
That's something I want to hear.
Good times.
We're sprawl. We don't live up. We live out. So.
So you're saying if we get an earthquake here on the East Coast, we're in trouble?
Possibly, because one, your building codes in the 20s and 30s, when most of those buildings were built, weren't done to withstand earthquakes because you don't get earthquakes. So here in California, the houses were engineered to withstand earthquakes. Very few brick houses. I mean, your houses are typically 2x4s with stucco over them. And then, the stucco may crack, but the 2x4s, they move, and then you just patch the stucco and you're done. It's built to design, it's designed to handle it.
Now let me just try and bridge the last two conversations together. Is Starfire glass stronger in an earthquake than regular glass?
Oh, right.
The only thing you need to worry about is the silicone. And is
Yeah.
the silicone strong enough to hold? The bigger issue that you have in an earthquake is water sloshing out of the tank. So myself, I always, when we weren't searching for a house and I'm looking for a house to put my aquarium on, I want a house with a wall to put my aquarium on that faces east to west. Because if we have a major earthquake, that's the San Andreas Fault, and that runs north to south. So the longer a tank is, your length, the water will get sloshing back and forth. And that's when you have spillover on one side and you have spillover on the other side. And it just keeps going until it calms down enough.
And then your seal busts.
You could have seals break as well. I have the AGE tank, which pretty much doesn't handle anything with the stainless steel angle iron that goes around it on top and bottom. But yeah, that's seals can go, but I've never heard of it in my lifetime here. We've had some pretty decent earthquakes, none that scared me, but pretty decent. And I've had guys who've lost 30, 40 gallons of water in some of these larger rimless tanks. Sorry about that, guys. People shooting off fireworks.
Hey, you know, I'm hearing it here in New York, man. It's been going on
Yeah.
all day.
We got it
Yeah.
everywhere, man.
But it's daytime here. I don't know why they're wasting their time. Wait till it gets at night. You know?
Oh man, fun times.
Yeah.
Fun times. Fun times.
So I'm about to take that and take that information that you guys just gave me and not invest in something like that just because of the hype of it. Because I did hear that about Elos as well. If there was an earthquake or something, it's shatterproof. It's basically bulletproof. So I'm close to bulletproof. That's what I've heard. That was one of the.
It's
I know.
right?
But I'm just like I said, I'm still new to the hobby, so I'm just kind of I'm getting everyone's perspective. I'm being sold on certain things without knowing. So that's why I'm trying to get all the information, that I do get before I buy.
Right. I know Tristan, when he was talking about it, he was saying that the tank is similar to Gorilla Glass, which is a man-made, close to like a sapphire glass, which is what's used in watches. Watches, they use sapphire glass because sapphire's the next hardest crystal behind a diamond. But that's not what these tanks are made out of. And the only thing you have to worry about, you don't have to worry about a tank, the glass breaking. I mean, Billy, that's a different story. He had a kid throw something at the tank. But in an earthquake, you just have to worry about a seal rupturing. And that's your silicone. And you can use most of the good tank manufacturers use an extremely high quality silicone. There are others, and mind you, silicone can cost, anywhere from $5 a tube on up to $50 a tube. I mean, when you're building an aquarium and you're a company, you might be looking at that bottom line if you're building high volume.
Wait, I thought silicone was silicone. I thought silicone was just silicone. I thought 100% silicone was just 100% silicone, and that was it.
Yeah. They don't use 100% silicone to do tanks. That's what you do to seal your bathtubs and things like that. You might use 100% silicone, but tanks, there's other stuff in there to make viscosity thicker or more elasticy, and so forth. But a lot of these guys, they know what the best ones are. I don't really want to say the tank manufacturer, but I had a friend offer to make me a tank. He was a tank manufacturer, and after spending a day hanging out with him and seeing the way he built tanks, I was like, not a chance.
That's your friend?
He was going to build me a tank for free.
That was your friend? He's your friend?
Yes. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I have some things I want to do, and I'm not sure, what I'm looking at now. He's like, oh no, I'll take care of you. I mean, he wanted, me to run his tank, and I was like, no. And then a friend of mine ordered a tank from him.
Oh, I know this one, don't I?
And I said, yes, you do. And I said, oh, why didn't you ask me? And I told him, I said, I wouldn't do it. And he had a tank rupture. And then another friend did the exact same thing, and he had a tank rupture.
Ooh.
Can I ask you a question? And you can text me it if you want to. Would you recommend Planet Aquariums?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So if he didn't say yes, and he said, okay, I'll text you.
It's actually funny that Billy just said something about Planet Aquariums. The tank stand is actually Planet Aquariums.
That's my next tank is Planet, for sure.
Planet. Okay, so AGE, who made my tank, and Planet Aquariums, those two owners used to work for Oceanic when Oceanic was a major manufacturer. And those two, they made their own tank companies there in the Dallas area. They're friends. I mean, they even considered sharing trucks to send product out when they came out for shows and stuff like that. So they both know what they're doing. They've been in the business for a long time. You know, first working with Oceanic, and then on their own. You know, the company who built Rico's tank. You know, I don't remember their name, but that company, Felix of what's his company? Reef Savvy. He used to work for them. They're the ones that taught him how to build tanks. And then he went on his own and made his own little company. So there's always going to be, hey, how you doing, buddy? There's always going to be, you know, people like that are, you know, that are branching out and making their own companies and building aquariums. And they're going to probably do something different than the way they were doing it at the other company. And I think that's the same in all walks of life and how you get companies spawned off of other companies in all types of industry. Someone thinks they know a little more and a little better, and they'd like to do it on their own. You know, they create their own company.
Well, that's good to hear that that quality is good. Because so the Planet Aquarium stand, I don't know if you actually know, Greg, but I think I told you already. The aquarium stand itself was actually like basically trash to my local fish store. They were giving it away. They were like, whoever wants it, come pick it up. So the tank stand dimensions 24 inches wide, 60 inches long, and basically from that point I can go any height. But yeah, so far as in what I've seen, the only thing I'm doing to it right now is basically sanding it down and prepping it for paintwork, because it's like a ugly gray color, kind of industrial style gray color, if anything.
Is it wood or steel?
It's wood.
Yeah. See, here in Cali, I don't ever want to do a big tank that's not a steel stand.
Yeah.
So, because I will say, with an earthquake, that is something that will take a toll, is the stand, because, you know, they're held in with screws, but when you have all that weight going back side to side, it just kind of it gives a little wiggle room, and then over the years, multiple little earthquakes can really weaken that stand. I would think it's not something that I would feel comfortable with. I had a wooden stand before; it was fine, but I'm doing steel stands from here on out when it comes to a big tank.
Gotcha. But the best thing is we don't have earthquakes, and I hope we never ever have one.
Where are you at?
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay. Cool.
So the biggest thing that we have to worry about down here is hurricanes, which I'm not gonna lie, man. I think we're getting one this year, because the weather has been like really, really crazy. It's been really, really hot. And some days it'll be really, really windy and hot at the same time. That means the storm is brewing in the Gulf or something, man. I think it's one is going to be coming.
Scientists have said that the storms will get bigger and stronger year after year.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hope one never.
Ago.
I hope one never exceeds Katrina, but I can feel it coming, man. If anything exceeds Katrina, man, look, it's gonna be bad luck from that, man. Look, I'm gonna have to try my hardest with that one.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one, and you know, as I tell people, you know, when there's a natural disaster, the tank is the last thing you should be concerned about.
Of course, your safety is.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, so I am definitely making it out there for California, but it's turned into a family trip now.
That's what I'm talking about. Right next door to Disneyland.
That's where. So now everybody is it's going to be like a 4 or 5 day trip with the entire family, and they're going to leave me alone for 2 days to do Reefapalooza. So
all right,
it'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Right. Are you staying in the hotel?
We're in the process of finalizing that now, but I think so. That's my aim, to be in the middle of everything. And since it's close to Disneyland.
If you give me the days, I can see if we can get some extended days at the low rate.
Thursday, Wednesday night, Monday?
Thursday, Wednesday.
Wednesday night to Monday, but I'll take Monday. Yeah,
A
but I'll
Wednesday
take.
night? Okay, so let me
But
see if I can
But I'll take
get
Thursday to Monday if that's possible too.
Okay, got it.
All
I'll
right.
get on it. So,
All right. So I'm in.
any other questions out there from the chat or
Any other questions about glass? Let me see what's going on.
any equipment? That's one thing I know is equipment. So,
I'm looking at Planet Aquariums building me a all glass sump.
yes,
I'm-
I prefer PVC hybrid sumps. That's just me. I don't like. I'm not a fan of glass for a sump. Just because when you're climbing in there, you put your hand on it to brace yourself to reach things, and those seals kind of scare me.
Gotcha.
Well, that's glass sump.
Yeah, with the glass sump, it just the way you work on a sump, you're a little harder on it than you are a tank. When you're on a tank, you're on a ladder, you're reaching over. But when you're underneath the tank in a sump and you're trying to squeeze in between places, now, I mean, there's a lot more of me to squeeze between a place than most people. But, it's just, I would prefer to have something a little, I don't like glass. I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I am thinking. Yeah, I was thinking about getting. I was looking at sumps again. My final sump this time, I promise.
I always
Well-
laugh when you say final.
You can always talk to Advanced Acrylics when you're here in Cali.
That's who I'm always looking at. That's who I'm looking at. I'm looking at their PVC hybrid stuff. I think so I had the Red Sea sump, which was fine. I ended up getting something custom, and then I got it too fancy in the small. It's all cool before you put it in, and then I realized probe holders are in a space where you can't get to it. Like all these different baffles and things and then I made it too high, not too high, but a little bit high because I was just trying to get as much water in it. And I think my next sump is going to be my best sump yet because I've realized that I just need everything to be where I can access it. And all those fancy features like probe holders and these little things, covers, and that's not important. I just need it to be functional and where I can get to everything.
It is nice to have those other things, though. I will say, as long as they're in an area, where they should be,
Yeah. The sump I have, it was the probe holders and all the extras that I ended up adding were just not in practical areas. Like at day one, when you were setting up the sump and you're routing the cables and you're putting the frags, you're putting probes in the probe holders, it's fine. But then 6 months later, when you need to get them out, when everything is plumbed, it was a PIA.
What's that stand for?
Gotcha.
Pain in the rear.
I'm over it.
Someone said, "How do you make a tank earthquake proof?" And I don't know. I don't know if you could acrylic.
That's your best bet.
I don't know if there's really a way. I prefer. I mean, as far as making it earthquake proof, making it earthquake resistant. Like I said, look into AGE in their hybrid tanks, which use a stainless steel angle iron around the perimeter of the tank, top and bottom. Therefore, they're thicker. So, for instance, when you put two panes of 1/2-inch glass together, there's a 1/2-inch seam. But when you put that angle iron around it, then it also goes 1/2 inches across and then another 1/2 inch up. Therefore, you have 1.5 inches of silicone for a leak to have to go through. Also, it makes the tank more rigid. There's no flexing. The other thing I would say, have your overflow a little lower than what most people would normally do. I've seen people here that, have a when they're doing a rimless tank, for instance, a rimless tank may be 24 inches tall, but the water level's only 21 inches tall or 22 inches tall. So there's a couple in, because when a tank sways, that's when you lose the water back and forth. And we all know, people have electrical and all that stuff around. That's the bigger fear, is being electrocuted or starting a fire because of stuff shorting out. Salt water is really good at shorting things out.
Okay.
So.
All right. Maybe I should move some stuff. You know what? I came out. What I found the last couple of nights is on the little tank, the snails. I don't know why it happens at night, but the snails actually crawl over the little return nozzle and spew water everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they like getting
Yeah.
snails like getting into the overflow. Also, I don't know why. Snails love a lot of flow for some reason.
Well, I mean, snails like unexplored areas because there's probably more to eat in those unexplored areas. If they can find new turf to eat algae or whatever, they're gonna go for it. And they don't just eat algae. That's the other thing. They eat other things other than algae. The biofilm and things like that. They get nutrients from.
All right, guys. I was only going to stream for an hour, but I ended up going 2.
There you go.
But all right. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Biorb Sensei. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for coming in and clearing that up. I didn't know where to go with that.
Thank you, and it was nice meeting you, Billy Pipes, and it was nice meeting you, Greg.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Likewise. And if you guys, like I said, want to follow me on Instagram, I do answer any questions that are posed to me. If you ever need help, feel free to reach out.
Okay, I'll be following you. My name isn't the same, of course, as on YouTube. It's actually a guy that's going to be following you named E46 Guy. So it's not the same as, it's a little bit different from my obsessive.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Greg, since I'm coming out there, we have to talk about some of those, because then all the coral stuff we've been speaking about, we need to get those lined up then.
Oh yeah, we'll get them lined up.
All right.
I've already talked with your shipping company to ship them out to you.
I'm gonna unfollow you both right now, conspiring behind my back.
Oh, A-cans, baby. Oh, Billy,
I knew you were gonna say it. Just take that frag rack right ahead of the tank and just bring it home.
I am gonna be sending Billy pictures of every A-can I see when I'm in California.
Listen, I want a yellow. I want a yellow and blue A-can. That's it. That's all I want.
I will.
I'm sorry.
Yellow is really, really hard to find. Mm-hmm. And even I've gotten some that were yellow, and they're not yellow anymore.
I'll keep them yellow. I keep them yellow. Every yellow one I've ever had just turned like banana yellow.
Okay.
All right, Billy. Don't worry, Billy. I'll work. We'll take care of that for you. Don't worry. You get
Greg. Just remember, Greg. Peanut pretzel M&Ms, bro.
Gotcha. Well, I will say this. One good thing is if Oak brings back a whole bunch of A-cans, you're closer to him than I am to be able to get frags.
Yeah. Okay, Billy. You know what, Billy? You're a good guy, Billy.
Seymour, I'll PayPal you money while you're there, bro. You know that.
All right. You know what, Billy? You've always been good to me in terms of corals and stuff, so I'll hook you up.
No, I'll pay for it.
No, I'll hook you up. Don't worry about
No,
it. Yeah, we'll
I'm
talk.
not asking for a hookup.
We'll talk. I just got to make sure that I get first dibs. You know, like I'm seeing it. I'm like your dealer. You know, you got to buy some good stuff with the bad stuff. You know, take like
Exactly.
stuff like that. Like
Give me the dirty bag, right? I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yes, I've already lined up shipping for you, Billy. I mean,
Okay.
Billy.
And
Yeah.
that guy that you've been telling me about. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited.
Cool.
I've never been on the West Coast. As far as I've been is Austin, Texas, and I'm excited to be on the West Coast. Never been.
Gotcha. Well, I'm headed to Austin, Texas, and Dallas area in just a couple weeks. So
Really?
yeah. Go eat some barbecue.
Oh, I was gonna say barbecue.
If you go to Texas, you got to have barbecue, and most of the best places are in Austin.
You're going to Texas for barbecue.
No, I'm going to Texas.
He's on Greg, you didn't tell him he's on the show. He's on that show, Barbecue Pitmasters.
Yeah, no, not quite. I learn a lot from those guys, but I'm definitely not at their level.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you. Thank you again for joining. It was a good stream. I definitely should do these more often.
Definitely got to do more of these, man.
You know, if memory serves me, you used to do these more often.
Oh my gosh. All right, that's my cue, guys.
Going there.
All right. Good night.
All right, good night, guys.